Hi everybody, welcome to SeaJaneKnits. Like every episode, I am going to share some fiber and knitting patterns to hopefully inspire you to try something new. And I want to start off today by sharing an awesome FO, if I do say so myself, a finished object. I finished my Wolf Creek sweater and I'm super proud of it. So here it is, and I've already worn it once. Just hold it up. And this is the absolute perfect yarn, I think, to knit it in. I used a new, I guess, what would the right be? Blend of yarn, kind of yarn from Yoth. It's their Father, which is a worsted to Aran kind of weight Rambouillet wool, and I just think it showed the stitch definition so nicely. This is a pattern by, I never know how to pronounce her last name, but her first name's Melissa, and she's Dandelion Girl on Ravelry. Just an amazing pattern. It has this kind of slight dolman here, and then you have this band that like carries through all the way to the side. So yes, I'm super proud of it. It was so much fun, and the back is just like the front. So hopefully, not that I really want too much more colder weather, but hopefully I'll have a few more days that I can get some good wear out of this before we get into springtime. And even in springtime, I think I might just throw it on over a dress or something to have that extra layer. So super proud of this one. So definitely check it out. I'll link to it below so that you have the info on where to find it on Ravelry. So there's that. And unfortunately, that's the only FO that I have to share. So I have lots of whips, I have lots of works in progress, and I'll share those with you now. If you notice, it might be a little bit quieter on this podcast than normal. I'm podcasting on a Sunday, which normally I try to do it in the evening through the week before my kids get home, but kind of that in-between time of work and kids getting home. So, but today it's Sunday and my kids are resting upstairs, so I'm trying to not disturb them too much. So it also might be kind of a short one as I try to get one in, but I did want to share what I've been working on. So this whip is the Ashburn shawl by Melanie Berg, and it's this beautiful 3-color shawl. Of course, you don't see the third color yet. And you have this really neat kind of stitch right here that breaks up the garter on the first part. And then in the middle section, it's pretty much the same thing, except it's with 1 color instead of 2. And then the third section is very much like this first section. So, but you're continually increasing and growing your wingspan. Yeah, I guess this way. To my right. As you go. So decreasing on one side, continually increasing on the other, which is going to make this really pretty long triangular shawl. I love that shape to be able to wrap and wear it different ways. So this, sadly, I'm going to admit that I started it last summer and I'm just now picking it back up. So I've done about from this part, this row, up this week, just kind of filling gaps of time in. I love that with shawls that you can kind of pick up and put down in most cases if they're not too intricate, and this one's really easy to read this kind of stitch pattern right here. So yay! So I'll be excited to get that done and then I can wear it. My third color, so let's see, this kind of orangish corally color is an Anzula, and I'm digging through my bag here to try to find it's Anzula Dreamy is the base, and the color, I think, is watermelon. Yeah, the colorway is watermelon. So the Dreamy base is 75% superwash merino, 15% cashmere, and 10% silk, and it feels absolutely amazing. So, and then my middle color, I feel like that's the same base. I want to say that it's definitely an Anzula, but I don't remember if it was the Dreamy base, or they also have a Cricket base, which I really like too. And I can't find the tag for that. I don't know. It's somewhere in a yarn bag, project bag somewhere, just not in this one. And then my third color, I had planned to be, let's see, hold it up this way, this Three Irish Girls custom colorway that they dye for a Good Yarn Sarasota. I've talked about them before. I just absolutely love that shop. This is their Gulf of Mexico colorway. So if you remember, you follow me on Instagram, you saw that out of this colorway, I just knit the foraging mittens from, it's a homespun house pattern, and they turned out beautifully. The pattern is really delicate looking with this lace panel that goes up the outside of the hand, and so I had this to use as a third color here, but now I'm kind of second guessing it, so I might just put this away, maybe knit a pair of socks or something out of it. This is in their Adorn sock base, which is 80% merino, 20% nylon. Even though it's not superwash, I wouldn't be hesitant to make socks out of it, just because I'm not that hard on my hand knit socks. So I think it would still be okay, but and like I said, it's in the custom colorway for a Good Yarn Sarasota. It's called Gulf of Mexico, and I love this with the turquoise and that kind of sea green color and the gray. I think it's just beautiful. So hopefully the colorway shows up well there. So we'll see. I still have a ways to go before I'm ready for the third color there, so it'll be fine. Oh, here's a Good Yarn Sarasota tag. I don't know how I can, there we go. And there's their, I don't know if that's gonna show up. There we go. There's their info with their website and address and phone number. They're just an awesome shop, and Sarasota is such a nice place to visit. This is one of their custom Bink waffle bags that I got there, so that's why it has that tag on there. And it's reversible. It has this cream and coral kind of shell design on the inside, so I love this one. And they have smaller versions too, which are nice for socks or a hat or some kind of small project like that. Let's see, while I'm still talking whips, because I've got 3 more to share. I think I showed these last time. These are a pair of socks that I'm working on for my husband, and I'm just kind of making up the pattern as I go, but not too much further, maybe another couple inches, 2-3 inches, and then I'll be ready to start the heel. So that's my favorite part of socks. I know some people kind of steer away from sock knitting because that piece of it intimidates them, but honestly, there's so many good tutorials on YouTube, so many good books. Ann Budd, of course, is known for her sock books. So, you know, don't let that intimidate you. I actually think it's fun once you get into it. And I like to do a heel flap. I feel like they fit better, both for myself and my husband. We both have kind of high arches, and so we need that little bit of extra room to get the sock to fit nicely, but then not be baggy in other areas. So you can see kind of this is the top of the foot, And so I've done kind of a 1x1 rib there to help make it fit a little more snugly. And I did toe up actually because I wasn't sure how many stitches to cast on for his foot size. So that's why I did toe up. I split my skein of the hedgehog sock in half, so into two 50-gram balls, and then that way I know kind of a good cuff length, because he is a size 13 in a shoe, so it's a pretty decent sock length, and I didn't want to use too much on the cuff of one and then find I was short on the other one to make a match. So that's why I did it that way. We'll see how it works out, since it is less than 400 yards skein. It's, let's see, it's 400 meters and 100 grams. So I feel like that's, I don't know if my math's right or if I'm remembering right, but I feel like that's like 370 some yards. So I don't know if that seems right. Maybe they changed it. Anyway, I split them in half just so that I would make sure that I could have socks that match. And I'm knitting them on my Addy sock rockets. I love how sharp the tip is on these. And the cable's pretty flexible. These are the 2.25 millimeter size US ones. And I think that this is a 40-inch cable. So I don't really like doing 2 at a time, socks 2 at a time. The way that I tension my yarn, I think that slows me down. And there's nothing really that I've found that I've really needed to pattern-wise to do them 2 at a time. So I just do them 1 at a time and do a magic loop, and it works out fine. Some people do 2 at a time because they're afraid they won't finish the second sock, and I would say when I started knitting socks, I definitely had that second sock syndrome, and I still, I'm sure, have single socks around here somewhere that I've not finished the pair for, but I know these I'll finish because he's super excited about them. He wants them done, and he picked this really bright color because he thought that they would be cool and fun to wear when he golfs. So I'll finish them. I just need to get on it, and he's kind of looking at me like, I can't believe you're knitting on that shawl when I really want my socks. But so far he hasn't said anything, but I'm sure it's going through his head. So the I don't know if I would call it a challenge, but I just mentioned to some of my knitting friends, wouldn't it be fun if we tried to give ourselves a goal to finish a project that's green by St. Patrick's Day, which I think is March 17th. It's here in 2 weeks. I think that's right. So, and I said, it doesn't have to be something new. It can be a whip, and this hopefully will give you some motivation and incentive to finish. And so, of course, some of them chimed in and were like, yeah, let's do that. That'll give me some motivation to dig through my projects. And one girl, oh my gosh, it sent her on a cleaning spree and digging out whips that she had forgot she even had. So while that's awesome, I feel kind of guilty at the same time because it took away from some of the other projects she was working on. So this is what I dug out. I dug out my Sand Shore, which is a pattern by Alicia Plummer, and it's a cardigan. Actually, let me turn around this way. So I did a little bit of modification to it, but it has this lace panel that runs down the back of it. And this is knit in Quince & Co. Kestrel, which is an Aran weight linen tape. Let me see if I can find Linen tape, and again, it's yarn I got at a Good Yarn Sarasota, so it's 100% organic linen. This is the colorway Urchin. The yardage is pretty low in this. It's 76 yards for a 50-gram skein, so that's just kind of something to think about when you're buying it. You're not buying 100 grams at a time, so, but I've been really happy with it. I knit I think it's called the Mini Sandshore, out of the same yarn, but in maybe the clay. Was it the clay colorway for Caitlin? And it just worked up so nicely, and it got softer and softer the more that I worked with it. And as we've washed it and actually thrown it in the dryer on low to dry it, it's gotten really soft. I listened to, I think it's the Knit FM podcast, which they're no longer producing, but you can still go on knitfm.com and find the old episodes. And Pam Allen, who is the owner of Quince, and Hannah Fedek, who is an amazing designer, they co-hosted a podcast, and in one of the episodes they actually talk about the kestrel yarn, and Pam says that it is intended to be washed and dried. Clearly, I don't know that you would want to put it on high or anything, but because, it will soften up the more and more. And again, the more and more you wear it, which linen does that, the more and more you wear it, the more it's going to soften up. So anyway, here's where I am on the cardigan. I've just bound off the hem, and I am going to pick up from my sleeve stitches that are on holders here, and then you pick up to do the collar. So to me, I feel like any cardigan that's designed like this method, where you go back and pick up stitches for the collar, most patterns are written this way, and I have a tendency to wait and do the collar at the end, and then it feels like the collar goes on forever. And you're like, is this collar ever going to end so I can bind this off and wear this stinking cardigan? So anyway, I'm sure that'll happen with this one, but we'll see. Because it's an Aran weight yarn, it goes really fast. I'll link to the pattern below so you can see what Alicia has designed it for, but it has this band that's supposed to hit right at the waist, and it's in a very similar kind of lace work stitch as this, but it goes the whole width of the cardigan. Well, because I'm short-waisted, I knew where it hit in the pattern wasn't going to be the right spot to hit on me at my natural waistline. So I'd mentally made a note that I needed to check that as I got going, but I just was knitting, and then realized I'd already gone past the point where my natural waist would be. So I decided, nah, that's all right. I'm not going to put that yarn over band that goes at the waistline. I'm just going to keep going, and it'll be great. So unintentional, I guess, kind of modification to the pattern, but that is what it is. So that'll be something nice to wear this spring. And if you've worked with linen before, you know that it's kind of uneven, I guess, and when you knit with it. And I thought with this, when I did Caitlin's, that because I soaked it for quite a while, so that soaking it for a good while, couple hours, really helped me be able to even the stitches out when I blocked it for the first time. So there's that, and I've got it in this kind of mesh bag that's got these snaps up here. And again, something I got at a good yarn, so I'm not really sure the brand even. Namaste is what the snaps say. I assume that's a brand, but I'm not sure. I really like it. It's been great for this project, and would fit any kind of sweater really well because it's big and it's got these snaps on it, so you don't necessarily have to unsnap everything. You can stick your yarn, pull your project out, leave your yarn in here and knit from it, and it'll kind of pull through. So I thought that was neat. And then my last whip, so I cast this on, which I know I shouldn't have cast on anything else, but it was kind of my treat to myself for finishing my Wolf Creek sweater back here. I'm not going to remember the names. There's been a knit along here recently, and I think it was intended to end at the end of February. So here in the next couple days for the Agnes sweater. So this is a pattern that calls for Quince & Co. Puffin, which is this single ply, 100% wool, and it's like I guess it's a bulky weight. I think it's a bulky weight. I don't have the yarn label down in my bag. So it, needless to say, has knit up extremely fast. So last Friday or Saturday, I cast this on, and I'm already to the point where I'm knitting on the sleeves. And definitely, if you have an entire weekend to dedicate to a project, you could get this done. No question about it. So it's a top-down raglan, and it's got these, this is my opening for my pocket, but it's got pockets in it. So you knit down to a certain length, and then you work across down 4 inches, and then on the back you work down 4 inches, and then you join again to start knitting in the round again, which leaves this opening for your pocket. And as you can see, I've gotten to that point, and now I've picked up stitches for the sleeve and have started knitting the sleeve. So I would say if I give this another 4 hours maybe of knitting time, I could probably have it done. It's just having that uninterrupted knitting time that is the hard part. Excuse me. And then I bought Quince & Co. Osprey is what the pattern calls for to do the pockets, and that's a worsted weight, I think worsted weight wool, and it's really fun to look at these patterns on Ravelry or Instagram to see what different color combinations people have put together. So clearly this is like this ice blue kind of color. And then pockets, the Osprey that I got is a really bright, definitely not neon, but more like a royal blue color. And so I thought that would be fun. And then as I was working on this earlier this week, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to put fabric pockets in there? I think that would be some really like highly patterned fabric. I think that would be a really neat kind of pop. I know I've seen that on, I don't know what pattern it was, but a cardigan that had pockets. People were putting the fabric pockets in it, and I thought that was really a neat kind of touch. So we'll see. I'm sure I'll do the knit pockets on this, but because this has gone so quickly, maybe I'll knit another one next fall in some different colors and do it that way. So we'll see with that. I don't know. I'm not so good at knitting the same thing more than once. I kind of feel like once I've done it, then I want to learn something new or do something new. So, but with this, it went so fast, I could still see myself knitting it again. So that's my works in progress in my FO. And really the only yarn mail that I've gotten is my third Hedgehog Club shipment. And I'm trying to get this yarn label back on here. So this is the February shipment. And I did the sock one, the sock club, and have been extremely happy with the colors I've gotten. You get 2 skeins of two different colorways, one skein of one colorway, one of another, and they're custom colors that they don't offer otherwise. So it's kind of a cool thing, kind of in a way exclusive. So this is the Covet colorway in their sock base, and I love the speckles and bright pops of color. It's just so fun. And then this is the Flare, which again is really cool. The colors in it. So always impressed by what Hedgehog puts together. So they could do any colorway and I'm sure I would love it. So, and I love their sock base. I meant to grab my Hermione's Everyday socks to show you guys. So I knit those in the Monarch colorway, which I got that yarn at Simply Sock in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And you can order it online. And loved how it worked up in the pattern part of the sock even, because I thought, oh, I'm not really sure how this is going to look. It'll definitely look different than stockinette, but I don't know how it's going to work up. And it was beautiful. And I think I've mentioned it before. I listened to a Homespun House's podcast, or watch it, and she had knit a pair of blueberry waffle socks in her is it her Phyllis base, her sock base, and what was the colorway? It was a Harry Potter themed colorway. I don't remember what it was now. And anyway, they worked up beautifully. So if you want to check out her podcast or check out her Instagram account, I'm sure you'll see pictures there. And so I thought, oh, how cool, I did the Hermione's Everyday sock, and then the blueberry waffle is fairly similar as far as how the Hedgehog would work up. So I think at least one of the skeins that I've gotten from their sock club, I'm going to knit up into those. So we'll see. I don't know when that'll be. I definitely need to finish James's socks first before I do that. And then other kind of crafty things that I've been doing, I've been buying, looking at sewing patterns, buying patterns, and buying a little bit of fabric here lately. And I really want to get my sewing machine back out and work on some projects there. My daughter's 4, and she is now obsessed with wearing skirts over her leggings every day. Don't ask me where this obsession came from, but if there's not a skirt clean in her drawer, it's like, what do we do? So I thought it would be a fun project to try to find some remnants, or use some fabric that I already have and make her some skirts. So we'll see how that goes. It should be pretty simple. She loves the skirts with pockets in them too, so we kind of have a pocket theme going on between my Agnes sweater and the skirts. So we'll see how that goes. But I hope that what I've shared today is going to inspire you to try a new pattern or try a new yarn. or try sewing if you haven't sewn. Again, tons of awesome tutorials on YouTube for sewing. But thanks for joining me today. Thanks for spending some time watching my podcast. Hopefully you've been able to relax and knit a little bit while you do it, or at least just take a break from your hectic day. So until next time, happy knitting.